gotta make room for us. It's a lot, gotta make room for us.
And then if we're on Facebook, just me.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome on. Welcome to Tuesday Tea Time. It is a pleasure to hang out again. We're going to go round two this time around. But just before we get into that, I wanted to kind of let you know about what's happening next week. This week. We've got our crew, our panel that we had on a few weeks ago, some of the most amazing, magnificent people in the world who happen to be African American. We're going to talk about being black in America. We're going to talk about some great things, some issues, maybe some topics that you've been thinking about, you've had questions about. You've been like, man, I kind of want to be a part of this, but I don't know. There's too many voices in the air saying this and that. Well, today we're going to be diving into that. We're going to take some time to really unpack some of that stuff. And I hope that in this journey, you'll be able to see and understand why it's so important that we as Christians, we the followers of Jesus, begin to speak our voice against such injustices. But before we bring these amazing, fantastic, wonderful, brilliant human beings on today, I want to just let you know next week, if you're watching along, next week I've got the great, humbling privilege of hanging out with my girl Rachel. She is if you are on Instagram and you are following Vegan Street Fair, I am going to be talking with the founder, the creator, the one who got this all rocking. Rachel, she's going to be on, so you don't want to miss out. I think they've got something like 175,000 followers. I mean, there's vegans around the world who just love plant-based things. That's not me, but they are out there and they exist. So if you happen to be one of those who are a part of her crew and following along and love these vegan street fair posts and all the good plant-based stuff, you're not going to want to miss out next week. She's going to be chopping it up with me. We're going to be talking about her life. We're going to be talking about all the good things that's happening and how she got started. All right. But at this time, let's get going with our amazing panel. Right. I want to say what's up to my peoples. What's up, everybody?
What's up?
Hello.
Okay, very cool. If you are with us, we are hanging out today with Donovan Childs, who is a preacher, pastor, content creator on Facebook. There is a bit of an echo coming through here. So if one of you guys are listening on this, maybe turn that down so we don't catch that echo. Echo. Ooh, sounded better. No, somebody still got an echo going on. So Donovan Childs, you are a content creator. You've got a bunch of things going on online, and Don Dees is your Instagram handle. So that you are pastoring. Where are you pastoring at, Donovan?
I pastor at the University SDA Church in Los Angeles, California.
All right, LA. All love to you guys. And then just beneath me is our recent graduate from Walla Walla University. You may have seen this guy around on such things as, I don't know. Tolu Orfeso is one of our resident Southern California Conference constituents. He grew up here in this particular area, went to LAAA, graduated from Walla Walla. Tolu, what did you graduate with?
Uh, bachelor's in forensic psychology.
Yes, 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 yes. Very nice, very nice. And Tolu, are you doing anything this summer particularly?
Well, I'm doing a couple things. I'm trying to I'm working on a nonprofit initiative that does art expression and art therapy. And then also I'm working with our like local Black Lives Matter group up here in Walla Walla, Washington. So those are my two biggest things.
Fantastic. So you're still in Walla Walla.
Yes, yes. I'm starting to not regret it.
Oh man. All right, all right. Thank you, Jillian, for letting us know that the sound is a little bit muddy. We're going to do our best so that you can hear the answers. If it happens to be acting up, feel free to just go ahead and let us know, and we'll make those adjustments as we go. And then next to Tolu, this is my girl who is technically from the Northwest area and attended the HBCU down in Alabama, Huntsville, Oakwood University, and is now teaching in Lawndale for an elementary school, a public elementary. Is that right, Lexus?
High school.
High school. That's right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I wouldn't survive at elementary school.
Oh man, listen. Yeah, I hear you. So Lexi, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing.
Yeah, so like he said, I'm from the Northwest. I'm actually from Beaverton, Oregon, so right where Nike is. And I went to Oakwood University, graduated from Alabama A&M, started with engineering, and then the Lord was like, you are called to this other career that's going to make a lot less, just a smidge less, you know. And then ended up out here when I came to grad school, when I finally like went into education. And so now I teach high school math, the best subject of all of them, of course.
Right, right. So you're a bit of a math buff.
Yes,
Wow.
absolutely.
All right, okay.
But I'm not like into puzzles. Like people like Rubik's cubes and all that stuff. That's not. I don't like those.
Okay. Okay. And then next to Alexis is Dr. Maury Jackson, who looks a lot like me, because Dr. Jackson is actually still teaching a class right now. And as soon as he pops out, he's going to pop in, and then I'll replace me with him. But until then, yeah, this is, as Sarah would say, is this my alter ego? No, this is just me doing a placeholder for Dr. Jackson. And when he gets here, we'll slide him right into the mix. Okay, my friends, what are you all drinking today? Popeyes. That's some high quality.
I have a little berry smoothie.
Nice.
Is that homemade berry smoothie, bro?
It is. It is.
By the way, this is not Popeyes. It's just in a Popeyes cup. This is actually, I don't know how to pronounce it right. It's just like, I think it's a Mexican brand. It's called Jumex, and it's like nectar, peach nectar, and mixed with lemonade.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It's like Kern.
Yeah, like Kerns,
Mm-hmm.
the Mexican Kerns. I'll just stop right there. I don't want to go any further.
Mexican Kerns in a Popeyes cup.
Yes.
Oh yeah, we're all eclectic up in here.
That's a win, man. That's a super. I think that's the first I've heard of this, and that's good. That's good. Is that cup is that like a souvenir cup, or is that like just a cup?
No, it's just the cheap plastic one that they give you.
That's such a win.
I
I just like to use stuff, more than once. I paid for it. So.
Upcycling, right? It's just.
That's right. That's right. That's right. We wash them out, and
I'm so not mad at that. Thank you. Thanks, Donovan. You've brought my game. I got to bring my game up to match you, bro. Hey, before we get started, Tolu, what's the weather like in Walla Walla? Tell us Southern Californians, we don't know like what the rest of the world's like, man. Tell us, what's the weather like?
Well, you caught us on a lucky day. Right now it's about 80-ish, somewhere in there, but for the last week it's been like 110, so it's been
Mm,
fun.
110.
Yeah.
No.
mm. Y'all need my drink. Woo, 110.
Mercy. Wow. Welcome on. If you're catching up with us, we are here with some brilliant minds, and Dr. Maury Jackson will be catching up with us soon. Along the way, if you have a question, or if you have a comment, or if you want to jump in here, go ahead and just drop us a comment. Something's going on with my mic and my audio, but yeah, don't worry about me. It's not about me. It's about these homies right here who are doing some great things. Let's get rocking here. If we take some time today to kind of fess out what's been going on in our world around us, it has to be pretty exhausting. Let me say this: it's exhausting for everybody. COVID has rocked our world. There's a pandemic going on. There's all kinds of stuff. On top of that, there's this racial tension, and that in itself has been tiring for everyone, quite uncomfortable. But specifically for the African American community, it has been a real strain. So I wanted to start with you, Lex, because you're a
Real strain.
teacher. So you deal with this pandemic thing because of distant learning. You're also a female African American, and you're also a mom to be. You're gonna
Yeah.
have a baby soon.
I know. I can't even imagine.
So this stress level has got to be something like unprecedented for you. Can you tell us exactly what amount of your mental and emotional faculty has it taken to deal with all the things happening around you?
I'll say that when it first started, I was incredibly overwhelmed because I didn't have a lot of answers as far as school was going. With pregnancy, there were things that I was checking in with the doctor about and all of that. And I realized as everything was going on with the uprising that I had to find a way to engage enough to be active because I definitely wanted to be active. And if I could have, I would have been out there marching and all the things. And also still take care of myself because I know that the anxiety impacts the baby. And so the way that I did it was mainly like when I can actually get to action, then I'm engaging with those kinds of posts. Like, okay, send this in or write this email or call this person. I can do that. But when people continue, honestly, even like the funny Karen videos, I couldn't engage with those too much because those are triggering too because microaggressions and some of the stuff that, and not even microaggressions, but straight up saying like you can't come into my building to deliver this Postmates because just because, and like no real reason, no reasonable reason. That stuff was really ridiculous. So I just learned to engage and still also take care of myself. I don't know if I mentioned it last time, but like I don't really engage with movies that, while they are historical and I think they are important for people to watch that don't know, like Fruitvale Station, Detroit, all those movies, like I still haven't seen yet. And like today we made the decision to watch When They See Us. And so I already have planned something to watch after it so that I can get back up. Because I already know that it's going to be crying and it's going to be anger and it's going to be a lot of things. But my husband was like, we should watch it. I've already watched it. And then after that, we'll watch Black is King or something like that to kind of like get back up. So it's been a little bit stressful, but once my school said that we were doing distance learning, once I kind of had a balance of how I wanted to engage and I made a choice, that really helped.
Wow. Very good. Very good. I mean, you really have to find ways to kind of keep yourself balanced through these times because otherwise you go nuts.
Yeah.
Nuts. Nancy says congratulations about your baby, and you're doing November, right?
Yes, I'm doing November with a little girl.
Yeah, and her name Icky, right? No,
not at all.
This is I have to talk to her.
Although, because we watched The Legend of Korra, there's a little girl in there named Icky, and we were like,
go with that. The spirit is leading you guys. You and your husband. Don't fight the spirit on this. Congratulations. Tolu, how have you been dealing with this? Because you're in the pandemic times. You are also part of the Black Lives Movement up there in Walla Walla, doing positive, good things, bringing awareness. But you're also in an area where the demographics is probably the majority white, right? Have you found it to be positive? Has it been helpful? Have they been beside you? There's a lot of great, wonderful people out there that have just joined along and become allies. So what is your experience like, mentally and emotionally?
Well, so for a little bit of context, the area that I'm in is very it's a purple mask over a red face is how it's been described. So it's definitely interesting trying to navigate like all of the complexities of a society like this. Overall, I'd say like emotionally, it's been extremely exhausting just to um, be around so many people that have never experienced like all of the things that have been brought to light over the
Right.
last few months. Like just live in a world that's completely apart from the experience that I've lived my entire 2 years of life. Or so it's there's a lot of people that want to support and just don't quite know how to do it the right way. And so it's fun all around. But I think overall, like it'll be useful down the road, but at the start, it's been definitely a bit trying.
Mm. I like how you described it. You said it's been fun all around. That's yeah, okay. That's one way to put it. um, Donovan, has your experience been any different from these two? What has it been
Um,
like?
well, you know what's interesting when when you talk about exhausting. So since I'm really active and engaged, I'm kind of doing the opposite of what Alexis is doing for good reasons. She's choosing to kind of disengage at points, but I'm kind of going the other way because I'm trying to make a to build a presence in that space. So every day there's a huge part of my day that's about engaging in social media, and there are a lot of posts that are like, well, look what happened to these black people over here, and look what happened to these black people in this city, and this state, and this. And so the exhausting part comes across when I'm seeing, either a post or a video or something like that. And one of the more recent ones that I saw was about this family. It's like a mother and three kids, and the police, had them all out of the car, all laid out on the ground, even the little baby. Um, and it made me think about, you know, some of the prep work that black people have to do before they move in society. As I was sitting there and I'm thinking like, how would I if my, let's say for some reason I'm out with my kids and the police decides they want to point a gun at my child. I am trying to decide in my mind, now, am I going to try and stay where I am, not stand in front of my child and try to talk the situation down? Or am I going to stand in front of my child to, as much as possible, ensure that they don't get shot in that process? And I actually have conversations like this with my wife. What would be better? Would it be better for me to stay on the side and our kid possibly be killed, but then I'm alive so that the rest of our family is good? Or is it better for me to maybe get shot and killed to actually keep our son alive?
Mm.
Because it really is, that's the reality out here. Like, you could be doing your own thing, and then the next second, your child is shot and dead. And
What a
these
horrible
are
game of would you rather, huh?
right. And so, and in the conversations I've had with my wife, she's like, there's no good answer there.
No.
There isn't a good answer. And I said, I know there's not a good answer, but we need to think about this now, because if we get into the moment, if we haven't thought about this, it's going to be harder for us to be at peace with whatever happens,
Mm.
because it is a reality, and it happens just like that. Literally, you're living your life, and then all of a sudden, boom, something that you just never thought you would be encountering in that day could happen. So it's just a little insight into some of the exhausting work that you really have to think of if you are Black person in this country.
It takes a lot more preparation and thoughtfulness on the part of individuals of color and the black community as they go out, because these are things that most people don't have to think about, right? Like
Hmm.
our experience. We'll talk a little bit about it in a little bit about with police, but our experience is definitely different um, depending on where you come from and your skin color. Just a few weeks ago, I don't know if I've mentioned this, but a few weeks ago, my kids like to sleep in the living room, and I'm totally okay with that. So one night they were out in the living room and they wanted to sleep, and they're 7 and 5, and it's kind of warm. We don't have AC, so I had to open up the windows, let the breeze come in. It was about midnight. They had just fallen asleep. We were watching a little family movie, and as I was tucking them in there, you could hear this big truck just driving up and just started yelling out like expletives and like white supremacist, um, just dropping all kinds of f bombs about white power and like, yeah, like everyone else needs to go home. And it there's really, Alexis has been in my place. There's very few people of color that live in my community except us, and we're well known in that community because we're always out hanging out like people of color do on our lawn all
Hmm.
the time, cracking jokes and doing stuff.
Hmm.
And so I could hear that the truck slowed down and was just like blaring it out. And whether or not that individual meant it for me,
Hmm.
it set me up because I wasn't even thinking about me. I was thinking about my kids who were sleeping in that living room. What if that individual decided that they were brave enough one night because they had drunken enough to throw something or shoot something through there and it harmed my children? And so it's caused some real triggers in me in my own neighborhood. The next day, I was like gonna start putting up some signs like Black Lives Matter and
Oh, you
justice
really try to
here.
get stuff.
Well, and the thing is, I was thinking, if I felt this way about it, what about the individuals who are single moms in that area? Because there's a apartment there. What about the individuals who don't feel as safe as that? Because my bro is always nearby. He's like 900 pounds of 80% muscle. We've got a huge community, so I always feel supported. But what about the individuals who are scared to death by this more than me, more so, right? Like, how much more frightening? And it freaks me out. How much more frightening is it for them? Well, Doug Harry, a good guy, a good friend of ours, one of our members, sent me a video on Instagram. You guys can go check it out. He connected me to it at Iktolu. So if somebody had videoed this couple who pulled up in front of them, got out of the car and started doing like the Hitler stuff and started telling them off, and that car was like literally around the block from where I live. So
Hmm.
the experience really is triggering because these are things you have to consider and think about beforehand. And you're always kind of like wondering when might it happen, who's next, are we in danger to that? So you add that layer on to having to worry about if the officer is feeling a certain way about you, and if you can't speak, if you don't have the right to speech and to speak up your piece, what could happen to you? It's probably quite an emotional time for everybody.
Hmm.
Don Dees, what do
Yes, sir.
people mean and not mean when they say Black Lives Matter? I think this is so important because there are a lot of individuals I believe out there um, who are getting bombarded from every which way, and the narrative has been drawn out by different groups. So I think it'd be important for us to talk about this. And of course, Tolu and Lexus, I invite you to join in this as well. What do we mean? What do people mean when we say Black Lives Matter? And I know you can't speak for everyone in the world, but I think we can give it a general consensus here, maybe some clarity for those who are wondering.
Yeah. Quite literally, it means Black Lives Matter. At a minimum.
At
That's
a
at a
minimum,
minimum.
yeah.
The part that I think we're needing to kind of help people see is the context. The implication. Black Lives Matter too, not Black Lives Matter, not you, not yours.
Hmm.
That's the disconnect that people are having because whenever somebody says a phrase, anything, there's always whatever um associations your mind wants to bring to it. It has whatever color of baggage you are bringing onto it, right? So I think we need to get people, at least if at the minimum, to the mindset of Black Lives Matter as well, because that's the piece that's, at a very basic level, seems like people are not understanding. I'll leave some for y'all to add in on that.
Let me ask Tolu, and then I want to come back to Lexi after that.
Yeah, Alexa got us.
Yeah, I might add that like the phrase is it's an attempt to address some of the systemic factors that give us reason to feel like we don't. Is how I view most of the perspectives towards it. There's the problem of police brutality that needs to be addressed. There's the problem of housing that needs to be addressed. There's education. The list goes on. All the systemic factors that are obstacles to achieving that basic level of mattering or feeling like we matter.
Lexi.
I think for me, I always think of the fact that the things that are being posted are communicating something. So whether it's George Floyd being killed, or whether it's young kids on the pavement at a grocery, in a parking lot, it communicates that Black lives don't matter as much as other adult lives. A lot of the policies, whether it's in education or it's in like the police officers, what they have, they're thinking of criminals, but when they think of criminals, like I have this book by Malcolm Gladwell called Blink, and it makes you think of like, well, what actually comes to your mind, because you're envisioning something. And so that particular, I think it was Denver, but they have a policy of if they think the car is stolen, they always go to the nth degree. Like it is the policy, it's always nth degree, it's always your face down on the pavement, handcuffed. That is the only option. And I know that they're not thinking of pulling over a middle-aged white woman and putting her on her pavement. They are thinking people who steal cars look like this, and they need to know it's not okay. And even if they didn't do it, they need to know it's not okay. And so that's where I have a concern, is because especially in education, like we think about what is this policy and who are they thinking of when they create this policy. And so that's where I think of Black Lives Matter, is that things that are being recorded, things that are being posted, the experiences that we have with systematic oppression communicate that Black lives don't matter, or you have to try more to be as valuable as other folks. Even something as simple as me going to buy a doll for my daughter, I have to work harder to find a Black one. Not as much now, but when I was growing up, you had to work a lot harder. Now it's a lot better, but even here in Gardena, or wherever, like if I go, the majority of them are white, and that's the society that we're in. So that's where I am with Black Lives Matter, just that it means it is to combat what's being posted, and also to say they actually do matter, because to the Black community, they matter. They've been mattered, whether it's Black on Black crime, whatever else, they matter to us. It bothers us. There are people just as active with the efforts in Chicago and other places where people are killing our own folks, that's active too. It's just that this is what people look at. Right.
And why, Donnie, why is the Blue Lives Matter statement not a rebuttal for Black Lives Matter? I hear people say that sometimes. Well, Blue Lives Matter. Why isn't that a rebuttal to Black Lives Matter? Well,
it is a rebuttal. It's just a poor it's a poor and tone deaf rebuttal. Right. And I say that because I do want to recognize that there are some people who legitimately think that's a good rebuttal, and they're genuine. Yeah. But part of the education is to say, no, it's not actually, because what you're implying is that you don't understand the issue, right? If you were trying to equate the plight of the police with the plight of Black people who are being brutalized by those police at times, there is a disconnect in how you're perceiving these things, and I'm saying this nicely, okay? But for example, a lot of the reasons that are stated when these police kind of pull out their guns and shoot people is I feel threatened. Now, they've shot a 12-year-old kid before. And you cannot and when they pull up, they're in a squad car, they have bulletproof vests, they have tactical gear, they have a belt full of things there. They look like Batman, and they are threatened by a small child playing in the park. Come on, man. I just don't think that is good thinking. I think that God has given us a brain to be a lot more critical than that. And the whole fact of this like overgeneralization, it's like if you say one thing where you're pointing out an issue about someone, then now they take that to the nth degree that you were speaking about all cops, and now it becomes a defensive thing. And and the cops thing is really just one, like the Blue Lives Matter, that's like one version of this misconception of trying to equate other things with the Black Lives or the plight of Black people and the Black experience in the United States. So really the issue is not even just the Blue Lives Matter, but it's the whole concept of trying to have this rebuttal where you're equating much less and very different situations to the issue that we're trying to highlight and reflect on as a society right now.
I think there's also probably some misunderstanding there as well, right? Just because you say Black Lives Matter doesn't mean you automatically think blue lives don't matter, right? Like that. No, we didn't say that. Like I think of in our congregation, we have two officers. One is a retired detective, and his life matters, and he's a good cop, and he did good work. And we need to say we need that. That's what we need. We need people that are critically thinking. We need people that'll stand up for the right kind of system. If the system's busted, we've got a. I have to say, Gardina's police force is actually pretty decent. They do a lot of community partnerships, but the system isn't perfect. And where it's broken, we need to say, look, this is busted, this is broken. Jillian was just putting that she thought mostly of her. She's got a Black LAPD officer in her church, and he gets the experience of the worst on both worlds, right? Interestingly, yeah. So I mean, I don't think that anyone is saying one or the other. What we are saying is, look, if the system's busted, we need to fix that.
Absolutely, and I'll just add this quickly. But back when it was a few years ago, probably around Trayvon Martin, maybe a little bit after, I was at a wedding. I saw an officer, and I felt like God was like, you need to pray with an officer. So I did. I ran up on him and kind of, maybe it started a little bit, but I was like, hey, I just wanted to pray with you. Like, I know you're out there doing dangerous things and all of that. And when I did it, I knew that I would, like, some people would be like, I can't believe you did that. And then I, like, even looking back at it now, because it came up on my Facebook feed. But I'll say, long story short, I completely agree that they do matter. When I lived by myself, when I was in Alabama, I would call the non-emergency number so they could go through the house with me to make sure everything was okay. And I know that some people have that conversation about, like, well, the system is bad. There are bad cops, so all of them are bad. Mm-hmm. And it's like, no, I can't. I was thinking about that in regards to the education system, because the education system is not great. It's not at all. And there are terrible teachers who do terrible things. One, they just aren't educating folks. And then two, they have incredible biases that impact their students. But it doesn't mean that all teachers are bad, because I'm not a bad teacher. And of course, it's not equating like them actually taking lives and things like that. But there are officers that are doing the things that do protect us, that do make us safe. My husband and I were talking about the other day, just because of how Gardena Police Patrol, we feel much safer in this space. Right. We do know that they can also turn on us. Yeah. And that's something that you grow up knowing. Even though I grew up in Oregon, like, I knew, and, I had to be aware. But I have friends that are officers. I do want them to do the best, and I hope that they can get better. I do think that there are, I don't even want to go into that, but just quickly, like, I do think that there are programs that do need to be put into place that can help people better than putting them in jail.
So true. So good. Yeah, 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 yeah. I completely agree with you there. Tolu, so maybe someone, their reality isn't scared of police officers. There's quite a few people in that bubble, as well as their experience of reality isn't the injustices that we see because their context directly is with a community of people that's probably more homogeneously white, and so they just can't see it, right? They'd like to, but they can't see it. And What do we do to make connections there? How do you speak in such a way that it connects with them? What can you share that would be good for us to grow towards?
Well, so I mean, of course, I can't provide a universal answer, but I think the best way to get information is to ask questions.
Mm.
So, I mean, say you're in a case where like police brutality is a completely foreign concept, like here in Walla Walla. To many people, they genuinely don't understand microaggressions. They don't understand like living in fear and what that does to an individual's core. So in a case like that, I just encourage a person to like ask their friends questions and um, reach out, get more information about like what it actually means when a person says they're like in fear.
Mm.
I'd say that's the best way to bridge the gap between a situation that you don't understand
Do
or
you
can't even perceive to exist.
do you have friends that have grown because of their relationship with you, Tolu?
I hope so. I mean, I'd like to think that I have a positive impact on the people around me. Um, I know a lot of my close friends, like closer to the beginning of this, took a lot of strides and are like continuing to do so in just like finding out what the issues are and finding out how to fix them. Even though they like, I mean, 4 months ago, this wasn't a concept that they had heard of.
Right.
Whereas now, they're actively going out and finding information and trying to find ways to fix the problems in the society that we live in, whether that's locally or abroad.
Yeah, I think the temptation for all of us when we get to this place is to dig back into a community that makes us feel comfortable and safe because we all want safety. But it's these times that we need to stretch out, stretch across, and make sure that our relationships with those who may be experiencing this more directly is something that we get exposed and engage with because that that helps all of us grow a lot. I don't know, Donovan, do you have any relationships right now that you can think of that may have grown from their connection to you and understanding?
Yeah, and it came about in an interesting way. I mean, it's like it's kind of funny because like once these kind of things happen, um, it's something I think a lot of black people can attest to. Like if they're the only black person in a space, and then something is displayed where everybody in the room becomes aware of the reality of black people, immediately people will start looking at that black person like, oh my god, I know all of this has happened to you, we are so sorry, or whatever. And so like for me, I had like a flood of I had white friends calling me from New Zealand, from here, from northern Cali, all over the place. And it can be exhausting, but I took the time to say, you know what, I'm going to talk to them because I want to appreciate them reaching out. I'm not gonna take the route where I'm gonna say, y'all should have been called me. Why you only calling me now after somebody I say let's go ahead and have the conversations that we need to have. And it is through these stories, through these experiences. Like I had a friend who was telling me, he was trying to get my perspective, and I shared with him. I says, let me give you some insight into something that you probably never will have experienced before. You might never have it, but because I'm sharing this with you now, you might be able to empathize with it. I said, when I get stopped by a police officer, there's something physiologically that happens to me. When that cop is standing by my car, I start to get phantom pains in the spots of my body where I think he might actually shoot me.
Mm.
That's not something that I'm sure a lot of people are thinking about when they get stopped by a police officer. And that's just, and I try to do it like, in small doses, but very concentrated and serious so that you're like, look, let me just let you know what the reality is on this matter. And so when I told him that, he was very taken aback, but he thought, oh, wow, this is really to a level that I've never would have thought
Mm.
could be. And he has definitely grown from that. Yes.
That's what we're talking about, and I know it's a lot to ask those who feel most victimized by it, but really that's part of the reconciliatory work. Like reconciliation isn't an easy thing, and it's never, it's if it's comfortable, it means you're not working. It's the hard work to be done, but reaching across and sharing experiences and letting people be a part of that, mentoring them through that helps them grow a lot. And it's really kind of cathartic for us as well to see somebody begin to grow, isn't it? It brings a sense of safety. What about you, Dr. Maury? What do you think? Well, Icky, let me let me just say, a few weeks ago, I went down and I did a march with some of our friends from the union up in Thousand Oaks, Southern California. Look, Thousand Oaks, that place is the mecca of white people. Let me tell you, big trucks, nice real estate, white families. And I went up there, and so I got there, and when I went down to where the march was going to be, I quickly realized it was going to be me and Donovan's dad that were the only colored people at this whole march. No, there was a couple there and a couple other people there. But it's actually kind of for those of you who may not be used to being around a completely large group of human beings that are not your race, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be all white or all black. It could be any race. It's a little bit intimidating. And so as we're gathering together, there's hundreds of people there. And I begin to I begin to question myself, like, should I be here? Like, are these people gonna turn on me? Is this like, this is Thousand Oaks? And then we started the march, and it was. Let me tell you, there was something so moving to be around a bunch of people who technically belong to the privileged space, who are walking with you for injustice, and maybe not me because I'm not black, but as a person of color, for me, because of the injustices that I would represent in the communities that I represent. It was so powerful. We were walking along with this little white family, and there was a little kid. It was a toddler. He had to be 3 or 4. In one hand, he was holding a cowbell, and he was ringing it with all of his little baby boy charm. And in the other hand, he had a sign that said, "Injustice for some is injustice for all." And let me tell you, for a big old grown man like myself, I felt so safe and secure and hopeful when I was walking next to him. Something about that little baby boy gave me such hope and such peace. And this is what happens when we're stretching through with each other. It's a work, and it's a little scary, but yo, people, we can do this. Let's do this together. Let's go. Let's get this right. Come on, followers.
Let me say something to get on this too. Another thing to say when Black Lives Matter is to invite people into the joy of Black life as well. It doesn't have to always be negative. Like, for example, I was watching a podcast where if anybody knows Kev on Stage, that's one of my guys, and he and this other comedian, that chick Angel, they have a podcast called Here's the Thing, and they were reviewing Beyonce's Black is King.
Right.
And it was funny because they were like talking about how a lot of Black people will love this. I don't know about everybody else, but they were saying, no, everybody else should be watching this too, and taking in, the stunning beauty and the wonder and the awesomeness of this, because it's something that they can also enjoy just the same way as we would enjoy Friends or Seinfeld or whatever. That was the point that they were making. We can enjoy these things of other cultures, and people can begin to actually have an appreciation for the artistry, the beauty, the history, the heritage that comes from the Black experience as well. So it's not always just about the negative plights, but it's also an invitation to engage into the joy of, the Black experience.
Yeah. Ooh, too good, Donovan. Thank you. Yes, so true. Hey, Tolu. I like your name, Tolu. It just rolls so naturally out of my mouth. Tolu, tell me.
It's your name.
Because it's my name, baby. Tolu's my son, actually. I didn't tell him, but
Oh.
I just had to get around
Whoa.
and finally tell you, man. No. Jillian asked a question to Lex, and Lex, I'm going to come back. Jillian, I'm going to come back to that question. Thank you for asking it. But Tolu, can you help us understand what is privilege? So, we've got a lot of good people in the world who are like, I'm not privileged, right? But so what is privilege? Can you help people kind of understand what we mean when we say that?
It's a good one. I'd say privilege, my understanding, is the opportunity to not encounter obstacles, where other people's paths are obstacle ridden.
That's very good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that about sums it up, right? So not facing obstacles
Ooh.
because you've got generational wealth, because your family were able to purchase something that they worked hard for, and even though you worked hard for it, you didn't get it. You got pushed to the side, right? That's privilege. So the tricky and subtle thing about privilege is that you don't know sometimes that you have it. You don't realize it. So you get angry, like, well, no, I work hard for my stuff. Well, yeah, but you got that house. How did you get that house?
Or they have obstacles and they think that that's like the equivalent.
It
but
equates to.
there are a lot of, just like how, like, I thank God for provisions when I go out. There are things that you don't see, like you said, there's things that you don't see, that there are obstacles that are removed and they're just a little bit easier and you don't have to think about them because of privilege.
Lex, so Jillian asked a great question here. Update to how Sojourner Truth used to answer this. Intersectionally speaking, do you experience more trauma, microaggressions from being female or from being Black?
I think most of it is Blackness. It's ironically, which is, I used to work for the government, the Department of Defense. And I'll say in that job, I felt a little more for my femaleness than I did for my Blackness. And I did feel like and so, people say they're colorblind, like I didn't feel like I was this Black woman that was working at this, company. I just felt like, I'm working at this company. And then sometimes I'd be in the rooms and I'd be like, oh, I'm the only woman. Oh, wait, I'm the only Black person. But, and there were times when I encountered certain things, but for the most part in my day-to-day, my experience as a Black person is what impacts me the most. And it's not just interactions with white folks, it's interactions with Latinx folks or whomever. Sometimes I'll have students that are not comfortable with me and I can tell like why they're not comfortable. So I try to like work that out. But yeah, I think that's where I'm at.
Too good. Okay. Hey guys, I can't let us finish up here without playing Leave One or Love One. So let's play a little game, and then we've got a few more minutes to answer a couple more questions at the end, shall we? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are about to go into Love One, Leave One. Leave One, Love One. Get ready to jump in on this game with us. Type in your answers. We're going to rock it out. I'm going to put about 1.5 minutes on the clock for us. And once I put that 1.5 minutes up, we're going to go, okay? Do you all remember the rules of engagement here?
More or less.
Okay. Let me put all of us in here, and then...
What?
All right. Boom. Okay, here we go. So I'm going to give you guys 1.5 minutes and answer which one stays permanently, you get to enjoy consistently, which one disappears forever. All right? Okay, my friends, play along with us. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Okay, completely plant-based or all meat all the time?
Plant-based.
Oh, plant-based.
Plant-based.
I see how the tough one was. More knowledge or more prestige?
Knowledge.
All right? A good book or a good massage?
Oh, bro. Good book.
Mm,
Good book.
It stays with you longer.
yeah, I gotta go with book.
All
I set
right.
up the last question, so.
I just said that because I knew they were both smart and they were gonna say that.
Run or swim?
Run.
Swim.
It depends on how hot it is. I like to run. I love running, so I'll say run.
All right, all right. Ice cream or sorbet?
Sorbet.
You fail if you say sorbet.
Ice cream.
Yeah.
You
have to
failed the
say
IQ test here.
Lactose intolerant.
Right, right. City slums or desert wilderness?
City slum.
City slums.
All right. Talking to people 23.75 hours per day, or talking to them 23.75 minutes per week.
I'll go.
Minutes per week.
Yeah, I go minutes per week.
Woo, you're not gonna talk to anybody but for 27 minutes. That oh man, okay, cool.
I get so much done.
5-minute conversation.
True. Movies or Broadway musical? Oh, our time is up. We didn't even get through it. Good job.
I stuck my answer in though. Well, they doing both now.
Thanks for playing along, everybody. That was good. Nice and quick. If you are just joining us, we're in the back end here as we're talking with Tolu, and we're talking with Alexis, and we're talking with Donovan, and we're talking with the fake Mari Jackson here on being black in America. We're trying to take on some of these questions and see where we can get to. Hey, Donovan, you're a pastor. I wanted to ask this to Dr. Mori, but since he's not on, let me direct it to you. What is the biblical mandate here for us as followers of Jesus in these times?
Man, do justice, love mercy, walk humbly with God. I love. Was it 2 weeks ago when you had the Pacific Island Council on and
Yeah.
Pastor Soli? He talked about, the importance of walking humbly with God. And he says, if you can do that, then you'll be able to do the others just fine.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter the group that you're with. It doesn't matter who you're fighting for. Even those that maybe are on a different side of an issue for you, if you see that there's an injustice and you're walking with God, then you can have confidence in that. I think that's the mandate. And the reason that's the mandate is because of what God pronounced in the very beginning of Scripture. He made everything and pronounced it to be good. And if something is good, that means it has inherent value. And if that value is not being honored, we need to work on honoring it.
Tolu, we all read the Bible. Why do you suppose that isn't such a clear message to everyone?
Looking at like the experience that Jesus had in his life, I think it's an important place to take reference from. So when Jesus was on earth, he spent a lot of his time trying to change the narrative about what it means to be a good person. And he was completely surrounded by people that didn't understand his mission, didn't understand why he was there until they like spent some time and actually, wanted to learn about it. So I think looking at the situation now, it's very similar in that like there's a problem that people are trying to fix. And the only way to really know about it, to know how to fix it, is to, engage in a similar initiative that Jesus did, but it's hard to get to that point where you want to hear something that's different because the way that you live is, the way that you live.
Wow. Good. Lexi, along those lines, as we are talking about the text and why people miss it sometimes, you all probably have friends, as I do, who are not on the side of racism. They're not allies to racism. but in these times, because of all the voices and because maybe they care for people, they are also a little lost for words or lost for action or lost for voice in this time. What could you say to them to help them in this journey?
Stay off of social media. I think that what people say on social media can go a long way, and just because you don't agree with certain parts of things doesn't mean you don't do anything. I think we feel comfortable being kind of like on the fence and we'll pray for you and all of these things, or knowing that it's completely wrong, but saying, we'll pray for you, but I'm going to stay in my house and I'm going to kind of like remove myself. So I would encourage them kind of the same way that I did, engage in the way that works for you, but engage. So the least you can do is sign petitions that get sent out. There's links and things like that. You can follow different organizations that post links when things happen, and just at least stay aware and just understand you don't have to be the loudest person shouting from the rooftop. We all have different parts, just like in the church family, like we are different parts of the church, but no one's like more important. I think in society, like we're all different parts of the movement. There are people who are just going to be about going to the town halls and working, doing door-to-door stuff and handing out flyers and things like that. And there are people who are going to march, and there are people who are going to be on their social media informing others. And then there are people who are going to kind of change their practices at home. I think we kind of talked about it last time, but just engaging in a genuine way with people of other cultures, and not in a, I'm just like, what, like, tell me more about like that experience, but like, just engage with them how you would engage with a regular human. And as that comes up, because I have friends that still to this day have not talked to me about my experience as a Black woman. I have friends who have children who, like, they're white, they have children who are multiracial, and they've never, like, I don't know of them even like making it like a prominent part of how they interact with their child, or even just like engaging in that way. So I would just say engage, find a way to engage, at least petitions, things like that. Understand that we are not like, even though people are saying defund the police and things like that, you can still support Black Lives Matter without that, because you don't understand it. Because I think a lot of people don't understand what defund the police means. And so it's just a matter of, hey, this was wrong, something needs to be done. And so I'm going to sign this petition because this woman was just taking a nap in her home and she was killed. And, it's hard because you have to dig in for more information. And some people are just like, they want the shock value and they just post the video, but as much as you can, try to engage. And I think now more and more, there's more sites where it helps allies kind of understand what's happening, but definitely engage and don't let go. It's not over. It's a movement. So it's going to last.
This is the problem. Okay, well, let me ask this. We're going to ask, never mind. We're not going to ask any more questions. We're at the 5 o'clock mark. Just something for all of you to consider out there, that if you are on the fence and you're like, hey, I want to speak up, I don't know how to speak up, and I don't know which narrative is correct, go back to the biblical mandate, as Donovan had shared with us. Listen closely to your friends, as Ofesu Tolu has shared with us, and then engage, as Alexis shared with us, on whatever level. You don't have to be out in marches. You don't have to be the one running the big banners, but be clear about what the text is telling us to do, and then in whatever subtle, active way you can bring that kind of reconciliation, love, justice into the world, do that. That might be connecting with somebody who goes to your church, and you know that, okay, this is probably a difficult time for them, and give them a call and say, I just want you to know I'm praying and thinking about you, and if you need anything, to reach out to me, because we can't just be a church that says I'll pray for you, right? James says, look, if you just see somebody in need and you say I'm gonna pray for you, brother, you done failed. Failed. So let's not fail each other this time, especially as we look around to the injustices. Don't fail the people around you that God has called you to bless and to take care of and to stand up for. We got a big work, but we can do it together. Together, we can do this, my friends. All of us, Black, white, Tongans. Well, we all get to be in it. Hispanics, Asians. We can do this together. This is the mandate for us. I just saw a commercial by Nike that I pointed out to Donovan a couple of days ago. Look, yo, I saw this commercial. Did you all see this new commercial by Nike? And it made me so angry at Nike. I'm so upset at Nike for doing this because they were able to find a way to articulate the gospel better than the church did. And so that should have been us. That should have been our commercial. We should have came up with that. I'm just saying, we can do this together, my friends. We just got to pull tightly. Secondly, to clarify, Alexis, in the church, I am more important because I work for the conference. So don't get that twisted. All right.
Oh my gosh.
Don't get that twisted.
Hey.
Y'all know me. I'm just playing. But I am more important. Just let you know.
That's why you have to work so hard all the time.
Oh, somebody pray for me.
You do all the
stuff. Hey, final words from everybody. Please, I want to go around one time around this bullhorn. Final words, and then we're going to close up. Thank you, everybody, for following with us and talking with us. We're going to do this great work together. Let's keep going. Okay, I'm going to start with Tolu underneath me. Tolu, go for it. And then Lexi down there somewhere. And then Bonnie.
The best thing that you can do is ask questions, and that's in any field. And find the problems and fix them, and grow the good parts.
Yeah. Last words. I think I'll stick with the engage. Like, just same way that you would look for a recipe if you're on Pinterest, or you would search for the best type of bed or the best crib for your child, or car seat or whatever. Do some research, of course, with like the right news sources, and just engage as you feel led. But definitely engage and speak up when you can, because sometimes your voice is going to reach someone differently than how my voice would reach someone.
Yeah, man. I was recently listening to an interview with Tamika Mallory, one of the founders of the Women's March, and she talked about how there were a long list of different things that were on the platform, and there were some groups that withdrew from the Women's March because there were things that they didn't agree with on the platform. And Mallory was sharing that, you know what, it's okay if they felt that way, because there were things that everybody doesn't agree about that are on the platform. But there are enough things that are on the platform that we all agree about that we can still stand up for. And so I would just say the work is hard, but we got to do it. And part of the hardness is we may not see eye to eye on everything, but there are enough things that we do see eye to eye on that it's worth getting in there and doing the work, engaging, asking the questions, just like these guys have shared.
Good. Thank you so much to our very cool and amazing panelists. Thank you for joining us this Tuesday. I hope that this was a helpful time for you. I hope that it reconciled some of your own anxiety. If you're out there and you're happen to be a young black person in America, I hope you were inspired to live out your dreams, listening to these very articulate human beings. Tolu, who just graduated with some important degree that I can't remember, like something, and
forensic psychology.
It's like to take over the world type degree. And Donovan, who is a phenomenal content creator, who's a pastor, who's a preacher. Alexis, who's moved from so many different spaces of important work to being a teacher, which is the most important work because she's in charge of our future. If you're out there and you're listening and you're young and you don't know what you can do with your life, God has plans for you. Don't give up. Don't let these times and these things going on turn you away. Keep living up to your potential. You're going to do amazing things in this world. If you are a young white person in this world and your heart is just starting to go up, I want you to know God has a calling for you. Use the power that you have and the bit of privilege and whatever you can to stand up for Jesus and for equality and for goodness, because we're doing this together. If you happen to be somebody who's in the upper brackets of age, or maybe you're middle age, or maybe you've just been part of this church, I want you to know that God has got a calling for you to bring forth and to support, to mentor, to disciple. But these are things we're all going to do, and if we do it together, we're going to rise to the top. Thank you so much, everybody, for watching along here in our Tuesday Tea Time. Today, I want to do something different. I did this with my wife a few weeks ago, guys. I'm going to put on some music, and I'm going to invite you to do an ugly dance with me as we close out today. So get your ugly dance warm up, ready to go. And as we close out this Tuesday, we're going to do a little dance for y'all. And next week, we're going to be with the Vegan Street Fair boss herself, Rachel. So get ready for an awesome week next week. I'm going to put the music on. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. Here we go. Ready, everybody? Give me an ugly dance. Ready? 3, 2, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. This is my ugly dance. This is also my good dance, to be for sure. Tolu, don't get embarrassed. Tolu, bring it, Tolu. Come on, come on. Oh, snap. Happy Tuesday, everybody. Have a blessed and awesome week. May the Lord go with you wherever you go.